And like so many parents, we think constantly about how to embrace.
In looking forward to this very special occasion, I reflected on the importance of this achievement,
while safeguarding against its dangers. And that hopeful intention.
Picture this, a luxurious Manhattan hotel suite buzzing like a hive, stylists darting around, curling irons sizzling, assistants glued to their phones, whispering updates every 2 seconds. Publicists are pacing, tweaking, polishing, adjusting, making sure every last detail screams perfection. Meghan's in front of the mirror, flawless as ever, calling this night her big comeback moment. Harry, he's standing by the window, looking out at that glittering New York skyline, probably thinking, this is it. This is when they remember who we are. The NYC Humanitarian Awards wanted them front and center. Cameras were ready. Headlines practically wrote themselves. Everything was set for the ultimate Royal Meets Hollywood moment. Every single piece of the puzzle was locked in. The wardrobe, the glam squad, the security detail, even the flight plan. And not just any flight, the flight. But then, the phone rang. And in one short, sharp conversation, everything changed. Someone said no, not maybe, not let's talk about it, just no. Their request for a fully sponsored private jet, denied. And listen, for a couple used to red carpets being rolled out at a single phone call, that one word, no, hit like a slap. This wasn't just about travel, this was about status. It was about being told, you're not who you think you are anymore. And honestly, that's where the story takes a wild turn.
You mean this one?
To really understand why that jet denial burned so deep, you've got to rewind a bit to Paris. Just a few weeks earlier, Meghan turned up at Paris Fashion Week ready to reclaim her throne. Front row at Balenciaga, flashbulbs popping, that signature chin lift that says, I'm back and you can't ignore me. On paper, a total power move, designer couture, dazzling lights, the ultimate comeback. The world should have eaten it up. But reality? Ice. Cold. If you were there, you could feel it, that awkward chill in the air. The fashion world wasn't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. There were no oh my god darling moments, no air kisses, no invitations for photos. People noticed her, sure, but it was that polite notice, the kind that says, we see you, but we're not with you. Her outfit, not a custom piece made just for her, it was borrowed. And oh, the ultimate fashion sin, and the tags were still on. In that world, that's brutal. It's their quiet way of saying, you're not really part of this circle anymore.
What does it mean? What does it mean to be here tonight, Meghan?
When you're truly in, designers make for you. Pieces meant for your body, your moment, your story. But borrowed clothes with tags? That's just polite rejection. The kind that stings more than open insult. Nobody hugged her, nobody leaned in for gossip or whispered compliments. Just smiles that didn't reach the eyes. That kind of beautiful isolation where you realize you're surrounded by people but completely alone. And then came the tunnel moment.
Meghan Markle is getting an award for fighting the dangers of social media. The irony is gold.
Word spread fast that Meghan had driven through that tunnel in Paris, the one where Princess Diana's life ended. Her team swore she didn't know. Just coincidence, they said. She had no idea. But come on, Paris isn't some tiny village. You don't accidentally end up there. Insiders started whispering. Was she trying to channel Diana's tragic, saintly mystique? Trying to remind people of that connection? It felt calculated.
Harry and Meghan Markle just bagged the title of Humanitarians of the Year, but behind the glam, they're reportedly plotting.
Diana's legacy still carries this untouchable, emotional glow. Decades later, her name alone evokes heartbreak and purity. And suddenly, Meghan was being accused of chasing that glow instead of building her own. By the time she left Paris, the flashes were still there, but the warmth, gone. The excitement, flat. Polite smiles, stiff claps, and in the fashion world, polite is basically social death. Because once the buzz dies, you're yesterday's news. That Paris trip was supposed to be her triumphant return. Instead, it was a cold reminder. The door she thought was open, it was barely cracked. So when New York popped up on her calendar, the NYC Humanitarian Awards, she saw it as redemption. This wasn't just another fancy event, this was her rewrite, her comeback. The chance to make people forget Paris, forget the whispers, forget the chill. New city, new stage, new chance to control the story. Every second was choreographed. The glam team, the schedule, the security, even the Manhattan route. And yes, the private jet, because arriving wasn't enough. She needed an entrance. That moment where everyone stops and says, oh wow, they're still it. This was supposed to be the reset button. Paris was the stumble, New York would be the victory lap.
You can be the visionary of your own life. You can charter a path.
Now, the humanitarian awards aren't your typical glitz and glam night. It's not about who's wearing who or who's posing next to whom. It's about impact, the quiet kind, the kind that changes lives when no cameras are around. But once Harry and Meghan's team got involved, the vibe started shifting. Suddenly, it felt less like a charity gala and more like a perfectly curated comeback special. Emails flew, lighting specifications, camera placements, water bottle brands, you name it. Event coordinators were rolling their eyes. It was supposed to be about the cause, not catering to celebrity comfort. And then came the request. They wanted their private jet covered, not just arranged, but paid for. Their team pitched it as necessary, too recognizable, too chaotic on commercial flights. You know, the usual. But here's where things got tricky. You're accepting a humanitarian award for compassion, for service, and your first move is asking someone else to foot the bill for your luxury travel. The organizers saw it instantly. The irony, the contradiction. You can't talk humility while demanding luxury. You can't preach giving back while holding out your hand for perks. One insider put it bluntly, if you want to honor people who serve others, maybe don't start by serving yourself first. It wasn't cruel. It was just common sense. Other honorees that night, they were everyday heroes, the kind who've never even seen a private jet up close, the kind who'd fly economy, grab an Uber, stay in a budget hotel, and still show up glowing with purpose. So when that request landed on the decision-maker's desk, the verdict came back fast. No drama, no press release, just a quiet professional refusal. But oh, inside Camp Sussex, that no hit like a thunderclap. For Harry and Meghan, that rejection wasn't about logistics anymore. It was about identity. Being treated like everyone else felt like a fall from grace. They'd lived years in a world where doors opened before they even knocked, where no was practically extinct. And suddenly, the word they never heard was echoing back at them. Their team scrambled to do damage control, spinning it as a schedule thing, maybe a miscommunication. But everyone who knew the truth saw it clearly. This was a line being drawn, a polite but firm reminder, star power doesn't override common sense. Harry's people didn't take that quietly. They pushed back hard. They invoked Paris, painting it as this chaotic, paparazzi-fueled nightmare. The chase, the flashbulbs, the cars swerving, the whole Hollywood-level drama, but insiders were already rolling their eyes. Because the truth? Paris wasn't an ambush. It wasn't chaos out of nowhere. It was predictable. The photographers knew where to be, when to be there. They'd been tipped off. Whether by her team or sources, it didn't matter. The setup was too clean to be coincidence. And that tunnel drive, yes, that tunnel, started to look less like a tragedy of fate and more like a well-placed symbol. So let's talk about that Paris chaos. People who were actually there said it wasn't this shocking, spontaneous frenzy Harry's team made it out to be. It was organized chaos. Photographers knew the plan, the timing, the route, all conveniently leaked. They were waiting, cameras prepped, positioned exactly where they needed to be. That's not coincidence. That's choreography. It looked less like harassment and more like a production. Everyone had a part to play, every flash timed to perfection. And then, the Pont de l'Alma tunnel moment. The very spot where Diana's story ended. Her camp swore she had no clue, that she was driven there by chance, that no one realized where they were until it was too late. But come on, you're in Paris, surrounded by a team that plans every breath. Drivers who know every shortcut, every detour, and no one noticed that tunnel? Please. Insiders didn't buy it for a second. They whispered that it wasn't an accident. It was a message. That Meghan wanted to echo Diana's legacy, pull at those emotional strings, and remind the world of that lineage of loss. Now someone dared to remind them that fame doesn't equal authority. That respect isn't guaranteed. It's earned. Their PR team scrambled. Oh, it was a scheduling mix-up. Miscommunication with the sponsors. Total misunderstanding. Because underneath the royal titles and Hollywood gloss, he's still that boy who once believed the world revolved around his family's name. But now, the name wasn't enough. The denial wasn't a logistical hiccup. It was a reality check. One that whispered, "You're not untouchable anymore." You could almost picture it. Meghan, jaw tight, scrolling through her phone, trying to process it. This was supposed to be their grand re-entry. Now, they'd been told to fly commercial like everyone else. For a duo who built an empire on controlling the narrative, being denied that control was a bruise to the ego. And oh, did that bruise show. The night of the awards arrived. No private jet gliding into the New York skyline. No dramatic motorcade slicing through traffic. Just a plain black SUV crawling through Manhattan streets like every other car stuck at a red light. From the outside, it looked normal. Inside, though, you could almost feel the tension. tension, that heavy silence when you know this isn't how it was supposed to go. This was supposed to be their moment, their glorious return to center stage. But something had shifted. When they finally stepped out, cameras still flashed. But the vibe, different. No frenzy, no cheers, just polite clicks. The kind of attention you get out of obligation, not excitement. They smiled for photos, waved for the crowd, did their trademark handhold, but the spark was gone. The magic, that royal aura, it just wasn't there anymore. It felt routine, predictable. The world wasn't obsessed anymore. It was just watching. And maybe that's worse, because when people stop hating you and start feeling indifferent, that's when the spotlight truly fades. The event rolled on smoothly. Speeches, applause, polite smiles, everything by the book. But there was a subtle shift in the air. For the first time, Harry and Meghan weren't the center of gravity. They were just part of the program, not the story, just in the story. And that realization, it had to sting. Because once upon a time, they were the headline, the main attraction. Now they were the supporting act. That's how fast relevance fades. Back at the hotel later that night, you can imagine the reflection hitting hard. All the planning, all the perfection. And still that one no changed everything. It reminded them, and everyone else, that privilege without purpose doesn't last. That fame fades when it's not backed by genuine action. And honestly, maybe that's what this whole jet story was really about. Not planes, not optics, but power. The power to command attention, to dictate the rules, to never be told no. And for the first time, someone dared to break that pattern. The next morning, headlines still mentioned them, but not the way they wanted. People weren't talking about their humanitarian work. They were whispering about the jet they didn't get, about how the organizers put their foot down, about how maybe, just maybe, the Sussex shine was starting to dim. That, right there, is the quiet tragedy of modern fame. When you build a brand on being adored, the moment admiration turns to apathy, the whole thing collapses. Harry and Meghan's private jet never took off, but maybe that was the real metaphor, because that night, neither did they. They stayed grounded, literally and symbolically, caught between the glittering world they left behind and the uncertain one they're still trying to conquer. The applause is quieter now, the crowd's less eager, the magic dimming, and maybe deep down, they both know it. Because sometimes, losing the jet isn't the real loss. It's realizing the world doesn't need to look up every time you fly.